Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Johnson. I'm reading from 2 Timothy, the first chapter, the 7th verse. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. God has not given us the spirit of fear. You know how many people are afraid? All of us. I know that I experience fear in a very unexpected time and unexpected places. And I think that's because I'm very insecure. In fact, most of us are insecure. We're insecure with good reason. We're worried about our jobs. We're worried about our people that we know. We're worried about what somebody's saying about us. We're worried about approval. We're worried about the amount of money we have in the bank. There's a lot of things that make us insecure. And anytime any of those things don't quite work, that's when we get bothered. That's when we get worried. And I'm very insecure. I'm worried about the judgments I make. I worry about the places I go and the things I do. Is what I'm doing right? And I'm listening to a client with counseling. Am I hearing her or him correctly? Am I listening to what they need? Can I help them? And I constantly come up with the answer, no, I'm just not capable. I don't have the answer to all of these problems. And I don't. The truth of the matter is, most of us don't have the answer to any of our problems. We are so cocky, we're so egotistical, that we think we can handle all the problems in the world. It's just not true. But where does that fear come from? If God is not the author of fear, as he says in Timothy, then where do we get all this fear inside ourselves? Let me tell you something. Look around yourself. Look at the people that are around you. I don't care where you are, walking down the street, sitting in an office, schoolroom, I don't care where you are. Those people that you see are as afraid as you are as insecure as you are. There may be some, by choice or chance, who are so egotistical that they'll tell you that they're not afraid. But we all are. Every one of us is afraid. And anybody that knows what they're thinking understands how insecure they are. They know that there's no promise what they've got today will be there tomorrow. What you think you own, you actually don't. What you think you're going to get, you usually don't. And we have reason to be afraid. We have reason to think that what we want is not what we're going to get, and sometimes that's very true. But if God is not the author of that fear, where does that fear come from? Well, it comes first of all from your enemy, the devil, who goes around seeking to kill and destroy you and me, anxious to see to it that we fail. He doesn't want to see you succeed. He doesn't want to see me succeed. He himself wants to make sure that he whispers into us what we're doing and who we are and how we're going to make a mess of it. All of us have that fear inside us. But even more than that, the greater fear does not come from what the devil and his demons whisper in our ear, and they do it daily. You have no idea the world that is around you that you can't see, and the demons that are involved with right around where you are. But by that same token, you and I are responsible for creating our own fear. We are the ones that become insecure. We are the ones that don't believe in ourselves. We are the ones that have seen us do things wrong, and we know that we've done things wrong, and though nobody else knows about it, we're afraid somebody will know and find out. We're always afraid about something that's going to turn around and smack us right in the butt. Every time you look at the possibilities of what you could do or who you could be, you know that you could be at the same time a failure. And at the height of your success, you know that it's possible that your success is not going to last, and it probably won't. Because it's man-made, it's self-built. Like the Tower of Babel, it's an attempt to reach God and prove that we're just as good as he is. We think we're just as good as God is. And that creates an insecurity because we're not. We can't accomplish what we want to. In fact, we were put in the garden so that we would follow God's rules, and God's rules were simply don't touch the tree. That was his simple rule, don't eat from that fruit. We broke it. Any rule that is established, you and I break. Read the Ten Commandments and show me a commandment that you haven't broken. Show me a place where God has said what you're supposed to do and you've done it all your life. Can't find it. Because you and I, by nature, break the rules. We become very egotistical, we become very insecure, and that's what causes our fear. Because we know how insecure we are, and we know how many times we break the rules. But God is not the author of fear, and He's not anxious for you to be afraid. In fact, that's exactly what Jesus said. Fear not. Do not be afraid. I am with you. I'll be with you always, He said, even to the end of the earth. The world that we live in is full of fear and full of boisterousness, full of ego and full of bigotry. Hard to live in that world, and there's a reason to be afraid, because that world is going to kill us. Many of you listening to my voice, watching me on video, are going to kill yourselves because you can't follow the rules. You can't follow the Ten Commandments. You can't understand the character of God and see what He's like and be like Him. That's exactly why Jesus went to the cross. Because you and I can't follow the rules. We don't want to. By willingness, we decide to go against God to prove that we're just as good as He is. And then what happens? We find out we're not. We're not as good as God is. We're not near as good as we think we are. Believe me, I've experienced so many failures in my life, and so many stupid failures, that I could have avoided if I'd have followed some of the rules. And I call them rules. Rules are a bad word sometimes. The Ten Commandments are not rules. They're marks of character in what you and I are supposed to do. That's why Romans said, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Your mind needs to be renewed. And it needs to be renewed with an understanding that God didn't put fear inside you. He hasn't made you to be afraid. He's not out to taunt you and to show you and say, oh, you didn't do it, you're supposed to. Because God loves you. And Jesus is anxious to give you the life and the peace that you're looking for. God is not the author of fear. He's not the author of your insecurity. In fact, He wants more than that. He wants you to be secure. That's why the Bible is very specific in you being a conqueror for Christ, being a mighty person in God's Spirit, a warrior, a companion with Jesus that overcomes the world. Be of good cheer, Jesus said, for I have overcome the world. You need to be in Jesus. You need to be with the one that is going to win. And then you won't feel so insecure. And then, just as that verse suggested, God is not the author of fear, but of power and of a sound mind. When you have Jesus in your heart, you've got the power of God, you can overcome anything. Who is he that overcometh? But he that believeth that Jesus is the Christ. You can overcome the world by coming in contact, and there isn't anything that you can't do. Nothing is impossible. If you have a grain of mustard seed and say to this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things, whatsoever you shall ask in faith believing, you shall receive. Nothing is impossible. You can experience God's power in your life. You can be a mighty conqueror for him. And you will live with him in eternity by receiving Christ into your heart. And then part of the promise of that verse, you will then have a sound mind. You know how hard it is to think right? You know how hard it is to make a good decision? Double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. We don't know what's good. We don't understand what's right until we've taken time to study God's rules, to study his commandments, and to study what God is trying to accomplish. When we know the Ten Commandments, we understand the character of God. And that's who you and I need to be like. Give him a chance. Give him the power to experience your life in him. Make him realize that you care for him. Let him love you. Let him save you from this world and change your life. God is not the author of fear. I don't know what you're afraid of. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Jesus said, you believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I am going, you know, and the way you know. Thomas said to him, Lord, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. Without the way, there is no going. Without the truth, there is no knowing. Without the life, there is no living. I don't know what you're afraid of, but don't be afraid anymore. Let Jesus take you by the hand and guide you and show you true power. All power is given to me, Jesus said, in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and preach the gospel. The main reason that I dedicate myself to telling people what Jesus can do is because I know that his power is going to overcome all of our problems and give us the peace we need. There is no greater peace or power than what Jesus offers you. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Ask him into your heart. Follow his way. Seek his truth and know life. And then you will be an overcomer of the world, and fear will no longer have any power over you. God bless you.